Welcome back to the Real Life English podcast. Imagine sitting at a crowded dinner table.
Right. Maybe there's some soft music playing in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Glasses are clinking. Everyone around you is, laughing, sharing stories, and just passing plates of food.
It looks like this perfectly happy scene.
It really does. And yet, looking around that table, listening to the voices of your friends, you have never felt more, well, utterly, completely alone in your life.
It's such a profound physical sensation, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Your chest feels tight. Your mind feels, I don't know, distant. You're surrounded by human beings, but you feel like you're floating out in outer space.
Yeah. It is one of the most painful contradictions of the human experience.
Contradiction. Let's explain that for our listeners.
Right. A contradiction is when two realities seem to perfectly oppose each other.
So reality one, you are in a room full of people who call themselves your friends.
Exactly. And reality two, your brain is sending you emergency signals of total isolation. And honestly, it happens to almost everyone at some point.
It really does. So today we are unpacking this painful contradiction. We're going to explore the psychological and biological mechanisms that explain why we can feel so desperately lonely in a crowded room.
And, for our listeners who are joining us to practice their English, we've designed this conversation specifically for you.
Yes, we have. We're going to explore this really profound, complex science using clear, accessible language.
Right. We won't dumb down the science
Yeah.
because adult language learners are, intellectually mature and ready for deep concepts.
Exactly. But we will make sure the vocabulary and the pacing are perfectly clear.
I think that is the perfect approach.
Yeah.
We do not need to hide behind complicated academic jargon to understand human nature.
No, not at all.
We can look at evolutionary biology, neuroscience, and psychology using just plain, powerful English.
Because understanding the mechanics of your own mind is the first step toward actually changing how you feel.
Exactly right.
Before we dive into the neuroscience and the history of human connection, I want to ask you, the listener, to do a little bit of mental time travel. Ooh, I like this.
I want you to find a memory. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, have I ever been in a crowded room, maybe at a party or a family gathering, laughing and smiling, but still felt completely invisibly alone?
Just hold on to that memory. Notice what it felt like in your body.
Yeah, we are going to return to that feeling as we explain the science behind it.
And to help lock this idea in your mind, we are going to practice saying our core concepts out loud.
We will do this gently throughout our discussion today to help you practice your spoken English and, really anchor your understanding.
So wherever you are, if you are in a safe place to do so, repeat the sentence after us.
I am not alone, but I feel alone.
I am not alone, but I feel alone.
All right, let's start unraveling this mystery by looking at the math of human relationships.
Yeah, math, right.
Yeah, when we feel lonely, our first instinct is usually to look at the numbers. We think of loneliness as a simple math equation.
We really do. We tell ourselves, if I just had more friends, I wouldn't feel this way. Exactly. We try to solve the pain of isolation by just increasing the sheer volume of people in our lives.
Which is a very natural instinct, but scientifically speaking, it is a complete trap.
A trap.
Yeah, the research completely rejects the idea that a high quantity of friends protects you from loneliness.
Wow, really?
Yes, you can have a massive social circle. You could have 50 people who text you, dozens of people you see every single week, a calendar full of social events, and still feel that crushing sense of disconnection.
Which brings up a really interesting paradox. And for our learners, a paradox is a situation that seems impossible because it involves two opposite facts.
That's a great definition.
Thanks. So mathematically speaking, if I have 50 friends who invite me out, shouldn't the sheer volume of interaction at least put a dent in my loneliness?
You would think so, right?
Right. Just by the law of averages, shouldn't more friends equal a better chance of feeling connected?
It sounds perfectly logical. But human emotion, and specifically the human nervous system, well, it does not operate on the rules of simple mathematics.
Okay, so how does it operate then?
To understand why 50 friends doesn't cure loneliness, we have to look at evolutionary biology. Specifically, we have to look at something called Dunbar's number.
Dunbar's number. Let's explore that.
So Robin Dunbar is an anthropologist who studied the size of primate brains, right? And the size of their social groups.
Okay.
And he found a direct correlation. The size of the neocortex, that's the thinking part of the brain, determines how many stable, meaningful social relationships an animal can maintain.
Oh, fascinating. So there's a biological limit.
Exactly. And for humans, that cognitive limit is roughly 150 people.
Wait, really? Just 150?
Yep. Your brain literally does not have the processing power to maintain a deep, genuine connection with more than about 150 people at a time.
So when we try to collect hundreds of friends or, I don't know, thousands of followers on social media, we are actually pushing our brains past their biological limit.
Precisely. We spread our emotional energy so thin that every single relationship becomes superficial.
That makes so much sense.
If you have 50 people you call friends, but you do not have the cognitive or emotional energy to actually know their fears, their dreams, or their daily struggles, then those aren't truly protective relationships.
They're just acquaintances taking up space on your calendar.
Exactly.
I want to use an analogy here to help visualize this difference between quantity and quality.
Go for it.
Imagine your social life is a massive, beautiful library.
Okay, a library.
Yeah, you have thousands of books lining the walls. From the floor all the way to the ceiling, the sheer quantity is impressive.
Sounds amazing.
Right. Anyone looking at your library would say, wow, you have so many books, you must never be bored.
But there is a catch, isn't there?
There is a massive catch. Every single book in that huge library is written in a foreign language that you cannot read.
Oh, wow. That is a fantastic way to illustrate the mechanism of loneliness.
Right. You can walk through that library every single day. You can touch the books, you can carry them around, you can even show them to other people.
Yeah, but you can't actually read them.
Exactly. When you are desperate to actually sit down and experience a story, when your mind is really hungry for a narrative, that massive quantity of books does not help you at all.
It's completely useless in that moment.
Yes. The number is irrelevant if you cannot read the language.
And, taking your library analogy a step further, what happens when you spend years walking around a library full of books you cannot read?
You probably get incredibly frustrated.
You become exhausted. You feel a deep sense of frustration. Eventually, you just stop pulling the books off the shelf entirely. You give up.
Wow. Yeah, you just stopped reading.
That is exactly what happens with our social networks. If you have 50 friends, but you cannot read each other's emotional language, if you cannot express your true feelings and have them understood, those friendships cannot comfort you.
So the room is full of friends, but your heart is still lonely.
Right. The quantity of the interaction simply cannot replace the quality of the connection.
So the very first step in overcoming this feeling is to stop looking at the numbers. We have to stop measuring our social worth by, how many people invite us to parties.
We really do. We have to transition our focus from how many people are in the room to what is actually happening between us and those people.
Listener, I want you to think about how you measure your own social life. Here's a thinking prompt for you. Do you spend more time worrying about how many friends you have? Or do you focus on how close you are to the few friends who truly matter?
Do you chase the quantity or do you cultivate the quality?
It is a profound shift in perspective. Let's practice saying this core concept. Repeat after us.
Loneliness is not about how many friends you have.
Loneliness is not about how many friends you have.
Excellent.
So if the size of our library doesn't matter, we have to look at what is actually written inside the books.
Right, the actual content.
Exactly. If having 50 friends doesn't cure loneliness, what exactly is missing from those interactions?
The research points us directly toward the type of conversations we are having.
The type of conversation, what does that mean exactly?
Well, the distinction here is vital. The research draws a thick line between having people to talk to and having people you can genuinely open up to.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, opening up means revealing your vulnerable internal reality. And the sad truth is, most of our daily social interactions are entirely surface level.
Let's explore the mechanics of a surface-level conversation. What does that actually look like, and why do we do it so much if it leaves us feeling empty?
Evolutionarily speaking, surface-level conversations serve a very specific, practical purpose.
Like what?
Think of early human tribes. When they encountered each other, they needed a way to signal, I am safe, I am not a threat.
Ah, okay, so it's a survival mechanism.
Yes. Today we do this through small talk. We talk about the weather. We discuss a popular television show. We complain about the traffic on the way to work.
It is like social grooming for modern humans.
Exactly. When monkeys groom each other, they are maintaining group harmony. When we talk about the weather at the coffee machine, we are doing the exact same thing.
We are acknowledging each other's presence.
Right. We are maintaining a baseline of social peace.
These surface-level conversations are nice. They're necessary, to get through a busy day at the office or the grocery store.
Absolutely.
But the problem arises when this is the only type of conversation you ever have.
Right. Because while small talk signals safety, It does not release the deep bonding hormones that the human brain requires to actually feel secure.
Oh, the bonding hormones. Let's talk about the biology there.
When humans engage in deep, vulnerable conversations, the brain releases a hormone called oxytocin.
Oxytocin.
Yes, oxytocin is often called the bonding hormone. It lowers your heart rate, reduces your blood pressure, and dramatically lowers the stress hormone, cortisol.
So without deep conversations, we are literally starving our brains of the chemical relief they need.
Precisely. Surface-level conversations do not trigger the release of oxytocin. They keep the interaction polite, but emotionally sterile.
I think about this using the analogy of a swimming pool.
Oh, I love a good analogy. Let's hear it.
Surface-level conversations are like splashing around in the shallow end of the pool.
Okay.
The water only goes up to your knees. It is incredibly safe. You don't have to work hard to keep your head above water. You can splash, you can laugh, and if you lose your balance, you just put your feet flat on the concrete bottom.
Right. There's zero risk of drowning in the shallow end.
Exactly. Talking about what you had for lunch is the shallow end. There is no emotional risk.
Not at all.
But if you want to truly experience the water, if you want to feel the weightlessness of swimming and the quiet power of the ocean, you have to be willing to swim out into the deep end.
And the deep end is where your feet can no longer touch the bottom.
Yes, the deep end requires vulnerability. It is where you talk about your hidden fears. It is where you admit that you are struggling at work, or that your marriage is difficult, or that you are afraid of the future.
Swimming in the deep end is definitely risky.
It is. You have to trust that the other person is going to swim with you and not let you sink.
And this is exactly why so many people have dozens of friends, but feel entirely alone. They spend their entire lives throwing parties in the shallow end of the pool.
Such a tragic image.
They have 50 friends to talk to about sandwiches and sports, but absolutely zero friends to swim in the deep end with when life becomes terrifying.
And because they never venture into the deep water, their profound emotional needs remain completely unsatisfied.
Which is why you can be at a massive celebration, surrounded by people splashing around happily in the shallow end, but your nervous system is screaming.
Because it is starving for a real, deep, oxytocin-releasing connection.
It explains perfectly why the crowded dinner party can feel like the loneliest place on earth. Your body is present, but your deeper self is completely invisible.
Listener, ask yourself this question right now and be really honest with your answer. Here is your thinking prompt. Who is the one person in your life that you can truly open up to?
Who's the person you trust enough to swim in the deep end with?
Identifying that person or realizing that you need to find that person is a critical step.
It really is.
Let's practice speaking this concept out loud. Repeat after us. Surface-level conversations do not fulfill emotional needs.
Surface-level conversations do not fulfill emotional needs.
Beautifully done. Now let's push this exploration even further.
Okay, where to?
Let's say you decide to be brave. You decide to swim out into the deep water.
You take the risk.
Yes, you take a risk and you open up to a friend about something that is really hurting you. But what happens when you share that vulnerable reality and the other person just doesn't understand?
Oh, this brings us to one of the most painful mechanisms of loneliness. The gap of understanding.
The gap of understanding.
Yeah. The research highlights that a primary driver of isolation is not physical absence, but emotional miscalibration.
Emotional miscalibration. What does that actually look like in real life?
Well, imagine you are sitting on a comfortable sofa. Right next to you, sitting shoulder to shoulder, is a friend. The physical distance between you is zero.
Okay, zero physical distance.
You take a deep breath, and you decide to share a deep anxiety you have been carrying around. You explain how stressed you are.
You are swimming in the deep end.
Yes, you take the risk. But your friend doesn't meet you there. Instead of validating your fear, they just look at their phone. Or maybe they try to fix it instantly with a shallow platitude saying, just don't worry about it, you'll be fine.
That is the worst.
Or worse, they change the subject entirely back to a television show.
Ouch. Just hearing that scenario makes my stomach drop.
In that moment, the physical distance is zero. But the emotional distance, they might as well be standing on the surface of the moon.
Wow.
This lack of understanding creates an intense, sudden wave of loneliness. And neuroscience explains why this hurts so much.
Let's talk about the brain science behind that pain. Why does feeling misunderstood hurt almost like a physical injury?
Because to your brain, it essentially is a physical injury. When humans communicate effectively, something incredible happens in the brain called neural coupling.
Neural coupling. Let's break that down for our learners.
Yes. When you tell a story, and the listener truly understands your emotional intent, their brain activity actually syncs up with yours.
Syncs up, like they match.
Exactly. If the story is sad, the pain centers of their brain light up in the exact same pattern as yours. If the story is joyful, their reward centers mirror yours. Your brains literally couple together.
That is amazing.
This biological syncing is the ultimate signal to your nervous system that you belong to a tribe and you are safe.
So when a friend gets you, your brains are actually dancing to the same biological rhythm. That is incredible.
It really is.
And in English, we use the phrase getting someone to describe this exact feeling. If you were learning English, you know the word get usually means to acquire something, like I get a coffee.
Right.
But in relationships, if a friend gets you, it means they comprehend your emotional reality without you having to explain every tiny detail.
They understand your essence. They don't just hear the vocabulary coming out of your mouth. They feel the intent behind the words.
But when a friend does not get you, when they brush off your anxiety and look at their phone, that neural coupling fails.
The connection breaks.
And when that connection breaks, what happens in the brain?
The brain's threat detection center, the amygdala, sounds an alarm.
An alarm.
Yes. For early humans, not being understood by your tribe meant you might be left behind. It was a matter of life and death. So your brain processes that emotional distance as a severe threat to your survival.
That explains why the loneliness of being misunderstood is so sharp and so heavy. You took off your armor, you showed your true self, and the other person essentially looked right past it.
That emotional distance opens up like a massive canyon between two people sitting on the exact same sofa.
It is the deepest loneliness of all. You can be in a vibrant, laughing group, but if no one in that group shares a neural coupling with your true internal state, you are functionally completely alone.
Functionally alone, yes.
Listener, I want you to reflect on a specific memory. Here is your thinking prompt. Think of a time you shared a deeply personal story or feeling with friends, and they just completely missed the point.
They didn't get it.
How did that sudden emotional distance feel in your body?
Acknowledging that pain is how we learn to seek out the people who truly are capable of getting us.
Let's practice this essential English phrase. Repeat after us. I want to feel understood by my friends.
I want to feel understood by my friends.
Great job. So we have established that this gap of understanding, this failure to neurally couple with the people around us, is a profound source of pain.
It is.
But there is a modern complication that takes this ancient human struggle and, frankly, weaponizes it. There is a technology that accelerates this feeling of isolation on a global scale.
We are talking, of course, about our phones, specifically the illusion created by social media.
Right. The research states that social media plays a massive destructive role in modern loneliness. It creates what psychologists call the trap of comparison.
To understand why social media is so toxic to our sense of connection, we have to look again at how our brains evolved.
Our evolutionary history again.
Yes, our brains are comparison machines. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans survived by constantly monitoring our status within our small tribe.
We were always asking internally, am I contributing? Am I liked? Am I secure in the group?
Exactly. We needed to know our place in the tribe of 150 people to make sure we didn't get kicked out into the wilderness.
Because being kicked out meant certain death.
Exactly. But today, social media hacks that ancient comparison system and floods it with an impossible reality.
When you open a social media app, what do you actually see? You do not see reality.
No, you see a curated, highly filtered, perfectly lit highlight reel of other people's friendships.
You see a group of friends laughing on a yacht. You see a massive dinner party with beautiful decorations. You see people declaring that they have the best friends in the entire world.
It is hyper-reality. People only post their absolute highest moments. They hide the arguments, they hide the boring Tuesday nights, and they hide their own deep insecurities.
So imagine you are sitting at home on a Friday night. You are already feeling a little bit lonely. The house is quiet.
We've all been there.
You open your phone, and your brain's ancient comparison machine starts analyzing these perfect images.
The brain takes your quiet, boring internal reality and compares it to everyone else's loud, perfect external highlight reel.
Yeah.
And the brain comes to a very painful, very false conclusion.
It asks, Why don't I feel that way? What is fundamentally wrong with me?
Everyone else has figured out how to have perfect connections, and I am broken.
Your brain tricks you into thinking you are the only lonely person on the planet. But wait, I want to challenge this idea a little bit because this is something I think about often.
Let's hear it.
Logically, as modern adults, we know social media is fake.
Yeah.
We know that the influencer on the beach took 40 different photos to get the right angle. We know that the couple smiling at the dinner table might have been screaming at each other in the car 20 minutes earlier.
Oh, for sure.
If our logical, rational brains know that these images are staged illusions, why do they still hurt us? Why do we trust a glowing rectangle more than we trust reality?
That is the crucial question. Why does the illusion defeat our logic?
Well,
It happens because of the speed at which our brains process information.
the speed of processing. Tell me more about that.
Visual information, a photo of a smiling group of friends, is processed by the amygdala, the emotional center of your brain, in a fraction of a millisecond.
Instantly.
Instantly. It hits your nervous system instantly.
Yeah.
Your primitive brain sees the image and immediately registers. They are in a tribe. They are safe. You are sitting here alone. You are in danger.
Wow. So the emotional alarm bell rings before the logic can even boot up.
Exactly. The prefrontal cortex, the logical thinking part of your brain that knows the photo is fake, is much slower.
So logic is late to the party.
By the time your logic kicks in and says, hey, don't worry, that photo is heavily edited, the emotional damage is already done.
The cortisol is already in your bloodstream.
Yes. The feeling of inadequacy has already taken root.
Visual proof of others' belonging directly triggers our deepest insecurities. And just to define that word, insecurities are those painful feelings of not being good enough, smart enough, or lovable enough.
And this creates a devastating cycle. You feel lonely, so
Yeah.
you check your phone for connection. You see a hyper-reality that makes you feel inadequate.
And then what?
This insecurity makes you withdraw further from your actual real-world friends because you feel like your real friendships aren't perfect enough compared to the internet.
We look at our beautifully normal, messy, imperfect friends, and we feel disappointed because they don't look like an Instagram post.
We devalue our real connections because we are addicted to a digital fantasy.
We confuse the act of hanging out for photographs with the act of true connection.
And as we've established, physical presence, just hanging out and looking good for a camera, does not equal emotional safety.
Listener, I want you to monitor your own reactions the next time you open an app. Here is your thinking prompt. When you look at photos of happy groups online, do you notice your brain starting to question the value of your own friendships?
Do you feel that tiny spike of inadequacy in your chest?
Recognizing the biological trick being played on you is the first step to escaping the trap. Let's practice speaking this truth out loud to reinforce our logic. Repeat after us. Social media makes friendships look perfect.
Social media makes friendships look perfect.
Fantastic. So we are lonely. We go online and see perfect illusions. We feel deeply insecure about our own worth.
It's a dark place to be.
It is, and that insecurity drives us to do something incredibly self-destructive in the real world. We start adapting. We start hiding who we really are just to make sure we fit into the group.
This brings us to a psychological mechanism called self-monitoring, or what the research beautifully refers to as the mask we wear.
The mask we wear.
Yes. The texts explain that a massive source of modern loneliness comes from the exhaustion of not being your authentic self.
The exhaustion of not being yourself. Let's dig into that. What does it actually mean to hide yourself, to fit in?
In sociology, there's a concept called code switching, or high self-monitoring. It is the act of constantly scanning the environment to see what the group wants, and then instantly changing your personality to match those expectations.
If the group likes loud, aggressive debates, you pretend to enjoy arguing, even if you hate conflict.
Right.
If the group makes sarcastic jokes that hurt your feelings, you laugh loudly just to prove you are part of the team. You're constantly altering your shape so you can slide into the group perfectly.
Yes. You suppress your actual thoughts, your true preferences, and your real vulnerabilities to keep the peace and avoid rejection.
I like to explain this using a technology metaphor.
Oh, another analogy. I am ready.
Hiding your true self is like running a massive piece of background software on your computer.
I like where this is going.
Imagine your brain has a certain amount of processing power, just like a laptop battery. When you are with people you truly trust, you don't need any background software. You just exist. You say what you feel. The battery lasts all day.
Because there is no friction.
Exactly. But when you are trying to fit in, you have to boot up this heavy background software called the mask.
And it drains the battery.
It does. This software is constantly scanning the room, Did I laugh at the right time? Did I sound too nerdy just now? Does my outfit look right? Am I talking too much?
Well, it sounds exhausting.
It drains your cognitive battery incredibly fast. The background software is taking up so much processing power just to manage your fake image that your brain has absolutely zero processing power left to actually enjoy the human connection.
Wow.
You leave the party feeling completely drained, exhausted, and fundamentally lonely because the real you never actually attended the party. Only your background software did.
That is a brilliant way to explain the physiological exhaustion of pretending. When you spend hours running that self-monitoring software, your cortisol levels stay elevated.
Because your body is stressed.
Yes. Your nervous system is constantly humming with mild anxiety.
Mhm.
And the tragic irony is, the mask actually prevents the very connection you are desperate to find.
Because if your friends are only interacting with the software, if they only know the fake version of you, they cannot provide you with any true emotional safety.
If people love a fake version of you, their love cannot reach your core. The connection feels entirely hollow because deep down you know they don't love you. They love the mask you designed for them.
It guarantees that you will feel lonely in a crowded room. The real you is trapped behind a wall of your own making, receiving absolutely zero true connection.
The mask might make you popular, but it will leave your soul completely starved.
Which forces us to ask a difficult psychological question. Why do we run this heavy background software? If wearing the mask causes us so much pain and loneliness, why is it our default behavior?
We do it out of terror.
Terror. Of what?
Rejection. We are terrified of rejection. We are scared that if we show our true, unpolished, needy selves, the group will abandon us.
Listener, this is a moment for deep self-reflection. We all wear masks sometimes, in professional settings or with strangers, but look closely at your closest circle.
The people who matter.
Here is your thinking prompt. Are you showing your real self to your friends, or are you secretly running that heavy background software just to fit in?
It takes immense bravery to close that software and show up as you really are.
It is terrifying, but it is the only way to feel truly connected. Let's practice saying the sentence out loud. Repeat after us. If I hide my true self, the connection feels empty.
If I hide my true self, the connection feels empty.
Excellent work. We are building a very comprehensive scientific picture of loneliness.
We really are. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have talked about the biological limit of our social networks. We explored the necessity of swimming in deep waters to release bonding hormones.
We analyze the pain of neural decoupling when we aren't understood.
We expose the fast-processing illusions of social media and the heavy cognitive toll of wearing a mask.
All of these mechanisms lead us to one final, deeply important psychological concept.
What's that?
We wear the mask because we are terrified our needs will be rejected.
Yeah.
But what exactly are those needs? The research highlights a crucial truth about human diversity. We do not all possess the same emotional nervous system.
We have wildly different emotional needs.
Yes. To understand why a friendship might leave you feeling lonely, you have to understand baseline nervous system regulation. We often talk about the spectrum of introversion and extroversion.
Let's explain that in practical terms. What does it mean for our daily lives?
Think about it biologically. Different human bodies require different environments to feel calm and secure.
Right.
Some people have a nervous system that desperately requires deep, intense, sustained emotional processing to feel regulated.
Okay, so they need depth.
Yes. If they do not have a 2-hour, highly vulnerable conversation with a friend, their emotional tank feels completely empty. They thrive in the deep end of the pool.
And other people are wired entirely differently.
Correct. Other people have nervous systems that are easily overwhelmed by intense emotional processing. They regulate their stress through lightness, humor, and shared activities.
So they don't need the deep end.
No, they are genuinely fulfilled by casual interactions. Joking around, watching a sports game, or just sitting in the same room is enough to signal safety to their brain.
The science is very clear here. Neither of these nervous systems is wrong. There is no moral superiority to needing deep conversations.
Absolutely not.
And there is nothing shallow about regulating your stress through casual fun. They are just different biological realities.
The loneliness does not come from being one type of person or the other. The profound loneliness happens when there is an invisible mismatch.
An emotional mismatch. Let's visualize how this misfire happens in real life. Imagine two friends, maybe roommates. Roommate A regulates their stress through deep talking. Roommate B regulates their stress through casual relaxing.
A classic scenario. I've seen this play out so many times.
Roommate A comes home from a terrible day at work. They are highly stressed. Their brain is screaming for a deep oxytocin-releasing conversation. They sit down and say, I need to talk about my career fears.
But roommate B is also stressed from work, and roommate B's brain is screaming for light, casual distraction to regulate their nervous system. So roommate B says, let's just order pizza and put on a funny movie.
Both people are desperately trying to connect in the way their biology dictates. Roommate B is offering what they think is the perfect comfort, a casual, fun distraction.
But to roommate A, who needs a deep dive, that pizza in a movie feels like total rejection.
It creates massive emotional distance. Roommate A feels ignored and lonely. And honestly, if roommate A forces a heavy, crying conversation while the movie is playing, roommate B is going to feel overwhelmed, misunderstood, and alienated.
Right. Both people end up feeling lonely because of the mismatch.
I think about this mismatch using a food analogy. Imagine your emotional needs are like physical hunger.
Food analogies are always clarifying. Let's hear it.
Let's say roommate A has not eaten all day. They are biologically starving. They need a heavy, massive, hot meal. They need steak, potatoes, the works.
A deep conversation.
Yes. They go to roommate B and say, I am starving. Roommate B smiles warmly and hands them a single, perfectly salted potato chip.
A casual interaction.
Exactly. A casual joke, a quick high five. Now, roommate B is not being mean. They are sharing their food. But if your body requires a steak dinner, a single potato chip is not going to fix your hunger.
It just won't be enough.
You can eat 10 potato chips, you can have 10 casual chats with your roommate, and you will still go to bed feeling completely, painfully empty inside.
That perfectly illustrates the concept of an unmet need. An unmet need is a biological or psychological requirement that has not been satisfied. You can be surrounded by friends who are throwing potato chips at you all day, but if your nervous system requires a heavy meal of deep connection, you will remain functionally starved.
So the key to escaping this specific type of loneliness is radical self-awareness. You have to learn how to identify your own hunger.
You cannot ask a friend for a full meal if you don't even realize that you are starving for one. And you cannot be angry at a friend for offering you a potato chip if you haven't clearly communicated that you need more.
Listener, we have one final crucial thinking prompt for you before we pull all these scientific threads together. We want you to look inward at your own nervous system.
That's an important one.
What kind of social interaction actually regulates you? Do you prefer deep, heavy conversations to feel secure and loved? Or are casual, fun, relaxed interactions exactly what you need to feel happy?
Remember, there is absolutely no wrong answer. There is only the authentic truth of how you are wired.
Let's practice saying this out loud. This is a vital sentence for understanding human relationships. Repeat after us. We all have different emotional needs.
We all have different emotional needs.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We've journeyed through some incredibly deep psychological waters today. We've looked at the biology of friendship, the neuroscience of conversation, the traps of modern technology, and the heavy burden of wearing a fake mask to protect our unmet needs.
We have built a comprehensive architecture to explain exactly why a crowded room can feel so devastatingly cold. Let's clearly summarize the greatest takeaways from our exploration.
The ultimate lesson from the science of human connection is that loneliness has almost nothing to do with physical proximity. Being in the same room as another human body does not solve the biological panic of isolation.
The quantity of your interactions, the size of the library, or the number of people splashing in the shallow end of the pool cannot cure a lonely heart.
What truly cures loneliness is the invisible architecture of connection. It is the risky, terrifying act of swimming into the deep end. It is the neural coupling that happens when someone truly understands the intent behind your words.
It is the profound relief of turning off the background software, taking off the mask, and allowing your true, vulnerable self to be seen and accepted by someone whose emotional needs align with your own.
True connection matters far, far more than simple physical presence.
It absolutely does.
As we prepare to end our deep dive today, we want to leave you with a final, provocative thought. A thought to provoke action. We have spent an hour diagnosing the mechanics of the problem. Now I want to challenge you to think about the mechanics of the solution.
Action is where the real change happens.
Here is my final thought for you to ponder. If true, biological connection requires vulnerability, what is one small, brave risk you can take the next time you see a friend? What is one honest sentence you can say to turn a shallow chat into a real neural coupling connection?
It takes immense courage to take off the mask. But as the science proves, the reward of true connection is the only thing that cures the pain.
Yes, it is. Now, as promised for our listeners practicing their English, we are going to officially close our deep dive by reviewing three essential core vocabulary words from today's scientific journey. These words carry the heaviest concepts we discussed.
Word number one, connection. In the context of psychology, connection is not just a digital link between phones. It is the biological and emotional reality of being closely linked to someone else's internal state. It is the invisible bridge that allows two nervous systems to feel safe together. Connection.
Word number two is surface level. This is an adjective describing an interaction that stays entirely on the outside, safe layers of reality. It is the shallow water of the swimming pool. It is the act of exchanging pleasant words without exchanging any true emotion. Surface level.
Word number three is understood. This goes far beyond just hearing the words someone speaks. Being understood is the profound, neural syncing feeling that another person comprehends your true essence, your fears, and your intent without you having to wear a mask. Understood.
Connection, surface level, understood. If you can master these three concepts, you will not only expand your English vocabulary, you will expand your capacity for a meaningful life.
That's beautifully said.
Let's do one very final sentence practice together to lock in the ultimate conclusion of today's deep dive. Repeat after us. Connection matters more than presence.
Connection matters more than presence.
Absolutely wonderful. We want to thank you so much for joining us on this expansive, scientific, and emotional deep dive. We hope the clear language helped illuminate these complex human truths.
It has been an absolute privilege to explore the architecture of the human heart with you today. Keep practicing your English, keep analyzing your emotional needs, and keep striving for the deep water.
And now it is your turn to add to the conversation. We would love to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment wherever you are listening. Tell us in English what causes you to feel lonely even when you are with friends. Try to use the concepts or the vocabulary words we learned today. We read every single comment to understand our own global tribe better.
It's always so fascinating to hear from you.
Remember, the next time you find yourself at a crowded dinner table feeling isolated, you have the power to change the dynamic. You don't have to run the background software. Find one person, step out of the shallow water, and take the brave risk of making a real connection. Until next time, take care of your minds and take care of each other.